You are listening to the Innovation Forge, the #1 podcast on adaptive enrollment management, exploring the data, marketing, and strategy that fuels higher education. Here's your host, David Dysart.
Welcome one and all to the Forgesmith Trials, the Enrollment Aces, coming to you live from the heart of Slatechester, just outside the Fable CSS. That's pronounced C's, my dear boy. C's. Not an acronym, not a file path. One does not trek through the enchanted precincts of Slatechester just to sound like a drop-down menu. Noted. We're here with the bracket built, the champions waiting, and the votes cast like spells across the admissions plane. I am your host, David, Slate right, Forge caller, and very much still pronouncing it CSS. And I, of course, am Leonard Aidtab, Ledgerborn of Slatechester, consultant to the core tables, keeper of the aid band index, and yes, right-hand click to the Forgesmith himself. It's going to be a scorcher of a contest. 10 archetypes, each a card-carrying legend from the halls of the Innovation Codex, stepping into the arena. But only one will emerge to be etched forever into the Fieldsmith's register. One might argue they've been misfiled already. The wildcard nearly broke the entire scoring rubric, and I still maintain that the Data Knight is just a clever for-loop in armor. Well, we'll get into the matches, the upsets, the grudge matches, the sheer voting chaos when the Slate captain faced the coach and nearly got benched. But first, today's broadcast is brought to you by the ForgeWorks Grimoire, the #1 training resource that matches and merges tarot with hands-on training. And by the Auto Aid Band Deluxe, now with dual packaging logic. Because if your reward isn't Matrix, is it recursive? Is it even Ledgerborn approved? Let's walk the timeline. From the first joust in round 1, where a Slate wizard will square up against the tech whiz all the way to the fire-forged final, you'll hear the full saga, stats, stories, and yes, Leonard's color commentary on bracket decorum. It's not color commentary if it's correct, and it's certainly not decorum when your so-called archetypes is a plush shark with no mobility and fan-favorite status. He's a wild card. He doesn't need mobility. He has momentum. He has felt, and absolutely no business in a professional field of record-keeping excellence. This is the Forgesmith Trials. You voted, we narrate. Let's stoke the bellows and see what iron made it through the fire. Our first matchup places the #1 seed Slate captain versus the #10 seed Slate coach. It's the strategist standoff. One designs battle plans and the other runs drills. Question is, which one was built? But question is, which one built their Slate better? Or rather, who remembered to test before launch? Let's meet our Slate captain and get some more insights to our #1 seed. The Slate captain is the backbone of any enrollment team, acting as the guiding force through the complexities of the admissions process. With a strategic mind and steady leadership, the captain ensures the team stays on course, adapting to changing tides and overcoming challenges. Much like the captain of a ship, they navigate through the storm of data, deadlines, and decision-making, always with the end goal in sight, maximizing yield and securing student enrollment. The Slate captain's ability to steer the ship with confidence while fostering collaboration amongst the team makes them an essential leader in the pursuit of enrollment success. And our underdog, the #10 seed coach. In the world of Slate and enrollment management, staff empowerment can be just as important as strategy and data. That's where the coach comes in. The one who rallies the team, builds confidence, and gets everyone moving towards that common goal. The coach can boost the effectiveness of the entire team, giving everyone an added edge when it counts. This strategic advantage is critical when facing tight deadlines or tough recruitment challenges. Why is the coach critical to a Slate enrollment team? The motivational leadership. The coach fosters teamwork and confidence, ensuring everyone is firing on all cylinders. Boosting performance. They can amplify your team's efforts, ensuring you make the most of every opportunity. And team unity. Enrollment is a team effort. The coach keeps everyone focused, united, and ready to perform under pressure. Alright folks, the scrolls have sealed, the votes are tallied, and the bracket's about to shift. To help us understand what actually counted, and what just looked like engagement, we now go to the one, the only. He insisted on being referred to by his full title this time. Do get it right. Of course. Reporting live from the weighted sanctum beneath the Forge Index itself. Please welcome Silas V. Lookup, Ordained Metricurgist of the Forge Index. Silas, what have you got for us?
Well now, the scrolls are sealed, the logic has been stabilized, and I've cross-referenced every click, scroll lag, and overzealous double voter. This is Silas V. Lookup, the Ordained Metricurgist of the Forge Index, coming to you live from the weighted sanctum. Well, we don't just read results, we interpret them into signals. Let's break down what round one truly revealed. Slate Captain versus the coach. Result: Slate Captain victorious with a commanding 86% of the vote. I can't say I'm surprised. One builds morale and the other builds the system. Captain didn't just win, she routed that bracket like a cleanly filtered export. I like a coach, but you don't bring a pep talk to a rules engine fight. Match 2. Slate Wizard versus the Attack Wiz. The margin was tighter, but the outcome's clear. The Slate Wizard advances. It seems voters favored arcane makeup and markups over well-grounded logic scripts. I suppose a spell's more fun than a patch until your packet gets dropped. Personally, I trust a whiz when the dashboard's on fire, but I suppose you all like your flash with a sight of flair. Match 3. The Architect versus the Trend Tracker. Now this actually ended in a dead heat. I've seen ties before, but not between someone who builds the blueprint and someone who watches the weather. We'll need a tiebreaker. Personally, I recommend a strength of signal duel, or a very polite duel of dashboards. It's structure versus signal, and structure, my friend, don't panic when the trend line hiccups. Match 4. Data Knight versus the Wild Card. Data Knight claims it with a steel-cut 80%. The plush chaos was cute, but the logic prevailed. You don't outvote a knight with noise, you do it with clean joins. I will say this, the wildcard's popularity per vote was disproportionate to its impact, like most mascots. And match 5, the Fixer vs the Marketing Maven. Another tie. Two masters of completely different fires. One smooth, one sparks. The votes couldn't separate them. I propose a test. Drop them both into a broken portal and see who gets out first. If they team up, we're in real trouble. One will fix it, the other will spin it. And there you have it. 2 blowouts, 2 deadlocks, and one match that proved wizardry still carries weight in a configuration-based economy. I'll be recalibrating the models, preparing the tiebreaker pathways, and of course, updating the Forge Index metadata with proper banding. Till then, keep voting with clarity and counting with conscience. This has been Silas V. Lookup, Ordained Metricurgist of the Forge Index, where every behavior counts. But not all of them count yet. Back to you two up at the retention tower. That was Silas V. Lookup, Ordained Metricurgist of the Forge Index, giving us what I can only describe as a data sermon on round 1. Indeed, he could deliver a census report and make it sound like prophecy. Still, the man knows his bands, even if he wears socks with sandals. 2 dominant wins, 2 deadlocks, and 1 magician edging out a tech shark in what I can only call a deeply divisive syntax off. And now we're left with a problem. Ties. Not network. Not neckwear. Real, statistically legitimate edge case performance parity. Do we do a sudden death vote off? A portal duel? I've got a whiteboard and some string. We could bracket the tiebreakers within a bracket, actually. Absolutely not. Last time you built a nested tournament, it crashed the export and summoned a duplicate record in Slate with no good. That one was on me. Oh, that's from the Forgesmith himself. Oh, I didn't know they still used the official bracket scroll seal. I thought that one out with the round-robin portals. Let it be known across the realm of statecraft, the trials shall proceed as follows. Slate Captain versus the Marketing Maven. Command versus Conversion. A duel of presence and persuasion. 2. Slate Wizard versus the Fixer. Spells versus Stability. Improvisation meets reliability. And a triple threat match. The Architect versus Data Knight versus Trend Tracker. 3 enter, 1 emerges. Blueprint, Blade, or Behavior. Okay, now it's real. No room for indecision here. The scroll speaks and the brackets bend. Round 2 is live. Vote wisely, everyone. The Forge doesn't forget. The fire sharpens now. But first, a word from our proud sponsors at Delivercraft, where every email is hand-forged by the royal holograph himself. Personalization so precise, it feels like emotional manipulation. And don't forget to visit our friends at the Fieldsmiths Workshop. Their latest scroll, Behavioral Drift and Yield Wobble, How to Intervene Before They Ghost You, is now available in both readable format and vaguely threatening vintage travel poster. So sharpen your logic, stir your segments, and check your filters. Round 2 is upon us, and if you thought the last few battles were spicy, just wait until the Architect has to defend structural integrity against a false metric siege. The Forge burns hotter now, and so does my skepticism. We'll see you next time with more chaos, more commentary, and of course, Silas V Lookup, standing by with his calibrated commentary, certified insights, and at least 1 devastating one-liner. Until then, I have been your intrepid host, Leonard Aidtab, Ledgerborn of Slatechester, joined by podcast and author, David Dysart. Well, folks, that's round 1 in the books. 5 matchups, 10 contenders, and a whole lot of upsets, close calls, and wildcard moments. We're still trying to explain to the metrics team. Explain? David, some of those results defied logic, gravity, and good taste. One of them made my monocle fog, and I don't wear a monocle. We started with a clean bracket. Now we've got 7 forged and fire contestants heading to round 2. And honestly, we have more questions than we started with. Like, can charm beat configuration? Will flare overtake function? And is the wildcard technically still plush? He did nothing, and yet somehow he did everything. Coming up next, we'll see new matchups that are going to rattle some exports. Slate Captain versus the Marketing Maven. Slate Captain, the tactical genius and CRM navigator, leads from the front, builds with precision, and configures like a fleet commander. Marketing Maven, the master of message, mirage, and momentum, converts clicks to yield like it's magic tricks. May actually be one. And then our second matchup, Slate Wizard versus the Fixer. Slate Wizard
Liquid Markup Master and Backend Mystic makes filters sing and portals dance. Might actually live in the test environment. The Fixer, calm in the chaos, scribe of emergency exports, savior of the suddenly broken. Works silently, saves loudly, and our triple threat match, the Architect versus the Data Knight versus the Trend Tracker. The Architect, the builder of bones. Systems have shape because this one draws the blueprints. Joins, queries, logic, stable, strong, clean. Data Knight, defender of data integrity. If it's modeled, banded, and scored with honor, odds are it passed through the sword bearer's query. And the Trend Tracker sees the signals before it hits the dashboard, behavior whisperer, and early warning systems. Nothing gets past those eyes. Will the audience reward flash, function, or the future? Only the scrolls will tell. This round of the Forgesmith trials is brought to you by FormForge, the only self-aware form builder that auto-hides fields when you're about to make a mistake. FormForge, because logic is more powerful when it comes with a warning label. And Segmentalier, the exclusive personalization platform of consultant cadres everywhere. Why settle for high first name when you could address students as esteemed aspirant of class bracket 2029? Segmentalier, for those who insist on variables wearing dinner jackets. Also sponsored by Bandscope, my personal signal interpreter. It don't just show you the range, it tells you behaviors belong in it, which don't and which are faking it. Bandscope, because accuracy ain't optional where I sit. Thanks to our sponsors, and honestly, if I'd had Bandscope during my last travel scoring project, I'd still have a full head of hair. That assumes you once had a full head of hair, which is statistically unsupported. Fair, but we do have something more reliable than my receding data model, the latest official results from the Forge Index itself. Stand back, stand tall, and stand corrected. Here he is, the steward of scoring, the sovereign of segments, Silas V. Lookup, Ordained Metricurgist of the Forge Index. This is Silas V. Lookup, Ordained Metricurgist of the Forge Index, returning with the verdicts from round 2 of the Forgesmith trials. And I must say, we've got some bracket turbulence. Speaking of turbulence, Silas, I heard from a little shark you just wrapped production in the 3rd album of Discounts Inferno, The Throne of Metrics. Silas, my dear boy, I did not know you sang. What role did you play? Well, thank you, boys. It was a small part, but I played the Demon King of Rankings himself. It was quite the experience. Well, I say, I, for one, am much more excited for this release. I did get an early preview this morning of my big song, if you wanted to give it a listen. Of course, let's play it.
A hall of trophies welded to the bone, a chair of broken charts that makes a throne. The walls are plaques with names that lost their breath. The floor is scores that march themselves to death. At last, the artisan of small regard, you kept your steps, you fought the yard. Behold a siege that rules the year. Kneel to the number that conquers fear. A breath. This crown is clatter. This hush is stage. The ink is hunger. The mirror. craft. Let me refine them by a darker draft. I tune the rubric so you never fail. A perfect harvest, a perfect tale. Your words are honey poured on coal. They sweeten ash, they sour the whole. If truth is dressed to please the crowd, the quiet breaks the empty loud. Declare the chair that names you king. The prize is hidden in the ring. The ranking racket throne, high and cold, it buys the present, it steals the old. Raise the scepter, bend the knee, count the victory, lose the key. Sit, and I will lift your line. Sit, and you will cross a sign. Sit, and I will still the dark. Sit, and light will flicker out. The ranking racket throne, I see your scene. A smiling furnace, a poison dream. I do not sit, I stand and know there is a better kind of glow. The throne, achieve, cross and cross and
It was rather brilliant, but if I'm being honest, it sounds nothing like you. It does sound like they did a lot of work in post, but I still had fun. Thank you for sharing that with us. I hope our audience goes and listens to the 3 albums that will all be available by the time this episode goes out. And with that, I do think it's time to begin the results for the second round. Match 1, Slate Captain vs. the Marketing Maven. Result, tie. Now look, y'all, this one surprised even me. The Captain, forged in fire and strategy. The Maven, cloaked in charisma and conversions, and yet a dead heat. We rechecked the scrolls, recalibrated the bias vectors, and folks, it's a tie. Which means someone's gotta step up or step aside. Personally, I think the Forge just enjoys watching me sweat. Match 2, Slate Wizard vs. the Fixer. Result, the Slate Wizard wins. The Fixer fought valiantly, no doubt, but in the end the votes bent toward mastery, style, and spells. Apparently, fixing broken logic mid-deploy isn't quite as flashy as conjuring multi-step portals in a thunderstorm. I respect the outcome, but let it be known, the Fixer deserved more than one band. The 3-way match. Architect vs. Data Knot vs. Trend Tracker. A result, Trend Tracker wins. Now this one, it shook me. I expected the Knot to ride in triumphant, given the crushing margin last round, but no. Trend Tracker surged past both logic and steel with the quiet force of a shifting dataset. Perhaps folks aren't voting on what was. They're voting on what's next. I don't model emotions, but if I did, I'd name that curve regret. 3 left standing, 1 still locked in battle. I don't know if it's science or chaos, but the semifinals are shaping up like a fever dream export. Let's be clear.
The wizard casting spells, the tracker watching waves, and the captain split into like a poorly built filter. I'm not shocked. I'm disappointed. And I don't say that lightly. Well then, here's the updated matchups for the semifinals. One will be a duel, and one will be a blur of fate. Match 1. Slate Wizard versus the Marketing Maven. Match 2. Trend Tracker versus Slate Captain. This isn't just about votes anymore. This is about who can hold the Forge's fire without blinking. And as always, we'll have Silas back soon with the certified scrolls, signal strength, and his unfiltered disdain. But first, let's hear from our sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by Style Ledger, the only financial aid visualization tool that color codes your regret in real time, with customizable bands and auto-triggered "What have we done?" alerts. It's perfect for those who enjoy watching melt data in style. Style Ledger. When it's all going sideways, at least make it pretty. And I want to thank our friends over at PortalPal, the unofficial plugin that reminds you when you've been editing test instead of production for the last 3 hours. Now, with a new "Are you sure about that?" mode for anything involving liquid and an overnight send. PortalPal, because your future self deserves a fighting chance. 2 rounds down, and somehow it's only gotten weirder. We've got magic, marketing, and metric mayhem all converging on the semifinals. At this point, I trust the brackets about as much as I trust an untested deliver campaign with dynamic subject lines. But here we are. 4 contenders remain, each backed by votes, vibes, and very questionable strategy. The Forge doesn't ask why the scroll burns, it only asks who survives it. Next time, we settle these races. No ties, no plush miracles, just 2 final matchups, and then the grand finale. Until then, I've been Leonard Aidtab, Ledgerborn of Slatechester, and with me as always, unfortunately, is David Dysart, host of the Innovation Forge podcast and the author of the Innovation Forge series of books. And that is a series, Leonard. Thank you so much. I am proud to announce that both of my first 2 books, the Innovation Forge, Engagement Scoring and Predictive Modeling in the Slate CRM, as well as the Innovation Forge, From Posters to Practice, Volume 1, Journeys, are both available wherever Amazon sells books. Fantastic, David. I'm glad that we've ended with yet another sponsored advertisement read. Will you be paying me for my time? Thank you, Leonard. I appreciate your constant support both professionally and personally. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you again next time. If you enjoyed today's episode, please grow the guild by rating and reviewing the Innovation Forge podcast, or sharing it with a colleague who needs to hear about these creative crossovers in education. The best review or comment every month will get an ebook of my book, of course. Particularly great ones will also be featured on future episodes. Thank you so much for joining me in the workshop today. Remember to strike true, and let's forge something extraordinary together.